Hello everyone, how are you? How's it going? Hope you're doing good. Well, it's time. Feels like it's time to intervene. So today, as usual, we'll be learning something really interesting. And do you want to know what it is? But hold on, before intervene, let me ask you something. So has anyone heard of line follower A robot? Wow, what does that mean? Or how does it work? Any guess from anyone? Line follower A robot. Yeah, spit it out, it's your time. Wow, feels like some of you are saying something. Anyway, I'm gonna show you something. So have a look. Well, I hope you can see the screen, and over there you can see the robot, right? Wow, just look at that. Just beautiful, right? Over here you can see two sensors, and this is what does it look like. And look at here, you can see a black lane or black stripe, right, over the world surface. Now look what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna place the robot like this, and here I'm gonna turn on the robot and let's see what would happen. Wow, did you see that? What is going on? Did you see that? Okay, here I'm gonna show you again. Wow, it just started following the black lane, exactly the black lane, right? So this is how does it work. Wow, that's just amazing, right? What do you guys think? Yeah, that's pretty amazing, I guess. So this is how does it work actually. The robot that can follow the line or the track. And you know what? You can draw your own track. Wow, that's gonna be something, right? What do you guys think? Of course, that's gonna be something because you can make it beautiful as much as you can. Now, I would like to know one more thing. Well, we can use these kind of robots. Any guess from anyone? Yeah, what are the applications of this robot? Line follower A robot. Anyone? Just spit it out, it's your time. Yeah, what do you guys think? Well, we can use these kind of robots. Line follower A robot. Wow, feels like some of you are saying something I really appreciate. Of course, we can use these kind of robots for transporting or carrying things from one place to another. Because we all know how does it work, right? Of course, the robot can follow the line, the exact line. So that's it. Now, how about creating the same? Wow, are you guys ready for that? You know what? I really want to feel energies. Are you guys ready for that? Yeah, just say something. Okay, that's great. So before we intervene, let's talk about what are the things that we will be learning today. So here I'm going to share my screen and let's figure it out. Well, I hope you can see the screen and these are the things that we will be learning today. So take a look. IR sensor and it's working. IR sensor interfacing. Well, he will be using two IR sensor for making these robots. And that's really important. I'm gonna let you know everything in detail. And assembling of robot, of course, we need to connect those sensors to the robot. Where it feels like we already did the construction, right? Yeah, we did the construction and right now we need to connect the sensors. That's it. I'm gonna show you that. Now application, that we just did. And coding, of course, he will be using text coding. And trust me, this is gonna be so easy. Now let's move to the next. And that is what is, let's talk about what are the things that we needed for making these robots. Wait, what is the robot name again? Yeah, line follower A robot, exactly. Line follower A robot. And these are the things that we needed for making these robot. Feels like you're already familiar with these components, right? Because we did the construction before. So you all are familiar with these components. Anyway, I just want to make sure a little bit. So I'm going to share my screen and let's figure it out. Well, I hope you can see the screen and these are the components that we will be using for making line follower A robot. Feels like you all are familiar with these components, right? Because we did the construction already. Anyway, I just want to make sure a little bit. So what about this thing? Here you can see a green thing, right? It has a name. Any guess from anyone? Exactly. This is what is chronobrick. This is what is chronobrick. And keep in mind, this is the brain of the robot. So that's really important. This is the brain of the robot. And it has 8 boards, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the board has 8 ports. And out of 8, we'll be using 3 ports for connecting motors. So which are they? Yeah, here you can see mode 1, mode 2 and M3. So we'll be using 3 ports for connecting motors and these 5 ports for connecting sensors. So this is how does it work actually. And what about this one? Any guess from anyone? It has a name. Yeah, this is what is sensor acrylic sheet, which means he will be connecting the sensors. I'm gonna show you that. And he will be using the medium type screws. So just keep in mind he will be using the medium size screws and nuts. He'll be using 4 screws. So just keep in mind that's really important. And he'll be using the Allen key, spanner, and he'll be using 2 RJ cables. So this is what is RJ cable, right? We need to connect these sensors to the board. So for that, we'll be using these 2 RJ cables. And the main thing here is actually this one. This is actually a sensor. So any guess from anyone? It has a name. So this is what is IR sensor. I'm gonna let you know in detail. So he'll be using 2 IR sensors. So I want you to take the IR sensor from the sensor box. So everyone has to take 2 IR sensors, 2 RJ cables and 4 medium sized screws, nuts, and this sensor connecting acrylic sheet and the spanner and the Allen key. That's it. Now let's talk about this one. I told you it's a sensor, and what is the name again? Yeah, this is what is IR sensor. So I'm gonna share my screen and let's figure it out. Sensor. And now it's time to let you know how does it work. Well, I hope you can see the screen. Now I want you to take the robot and this sensor connecting acrylic sheet as well. And over here you can see 3 holes, right? Now I want you to place like this, exactly like this. Now you can see the holes through this sensor connecting acrylic sheet. And by using medium screws, exactly this one, you need to make it tight, exactly like this. You need to place it like this. And from the bottom side, you need to make it tight. You can make it tight by using these nuts. You can use the spanner and Allen key as well. And this side also. Just make it tight as much as you can. I told you if you really want, you can use this Allen key and spanners. Now that's pretty cool. Now everyone has to do the same. Well, I hope you have completed. Now it's time to connect these sensors to the robot. I told you he will be using 2 sensors, and over here you can say hole, right? So everyone has to take one sensor, and over here you can say hole, right? So we will be connecting the sensors exactly like this. So everyone has to keep the robot like this, and over here you can say hole, right? So just place like this, and by using this medium screw, just make it tight. Yeah, exactly like this. And from the back side, just make it tight like this. And I told you if you really want, you can use this Allen key and the spanners as well. Just make it tight as much as you can. Now that's it. Wow, that's pretty cool, right? Now same as this, here we need to connect the other sensor over here. So for that, yeah, just get it done. You know it. Just place it like this. And by using the medium screw, that's it. And just make it tight. Now here we go. Wow, look at that. That's pretty cool, right? What do you guys think? Yeah, that's looking good. Now we need to connect these sensors to the robot, I mean the board. But how's that possible? I'm just confused. Any help from anyone? How is that possible? Of course, you will be using these RJ cables, right? By using this RJ cable, we will be connecting these sensors to the board. But where we can connect this? Yeah, one side has to be here, right? Yeah, just connect like this. And the other one just like this. And where do we need to connect these 2 ends? Any guess from anyone? Yeah, I told you the board has 8 ports, right? And out of 8, we will be using 3 ports for connecting motors. That is what is motor 1, motor 2 and M3. And these 5 will be using for connecting sensors. Exactly. So here I wanted to connect one of the sensors to the 27 port, but where is it? Of course it's here, right? Because it's already there, it's written over there. So I wanted to connect this sensor to this 27 port and the other one to the 39 port. Did you see that? Yeah, it's over there. You can see a port called 39. So I wanted to connect this sensor like this. Now that's it. Everyone has to do the same. It's your time. So look what I have done. I have connected the left sensor to the 27 port and the right one to the 39 port. So make sure you have to do the same. I hope you have completed. Now that's it. Well, this is what our robot would look like. And just look at that. This is beautiful, right? What do you guys think? And that's it. Now let's move to the next. I'm going to share my screen again. Well, I hope you can see the screen, and this is what is a IR sensor. This is how does it look like actually. And it has a full form. Any guess from anyone? Yeah, it's your time. Just spit it out. Any guess from anyone? Come on, say something. Well, just look at the screen. It's over there, right? What it says. Infrared. Exactly. IR stands for infrared. So just keep in mind. Now it's time to let you know how does it work. Feels like I told you before, right? It's like every superhero has a power. Same as this, every sensor has a power. Now let's talk about his powers. I mean, let's talk about IR sensor. Well, these sensors can detect any in front object, which means whenever something in front of the sensor can detect or sensor can identify something in front of me. So that's how does it work actually. So did you get my point? That's it. Now let's talk about how does these sensors dictate objects that in front of it. For that, everyone has to just look at this sensor. Over here you can see two LEDs, right? Yeah, over here you can two LEDs and something over there. Can you read what it says? One is RX and the other one is TX. Did you see that? Everyone has to just look at this sensor. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Just look. Well, I hope you can see the screen and everyone has to just look at this sensor. Well, let's talk about this sensor. Wait, what is the name of this sensor again? Exactly, IR sensor. Now let's talk about this one. Over here you can see two LEDs, right? One is black and the other one is transparent. And did you see that? Something over there. Yeah, something written over there. What it says? Here it says TX, which means transmitter. And what about this side? Here it says RX, which means the receiver. So here the concept is so simple. Whenever it turned on, the transmitter or the transparent LED will produce a light, an infrared light, which we can't see through our naked eyes. And if there are any object or something in front of it, what would happen? Of course, the light will hit the object and would reflect back. And over here you can see a receiver, right? And the receiver will receive that. So this is how does these sensors dictate object in front of it. So this is all about this sensor. This is how does it work actually. So I hope that clear. Well, that's all about IR sensor. Now it's time. Now it's time to build this robot. Sarugya is ready for that. I told you I just want to feel energy. Sarugya is ready for that. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again and I'm going to let you know everything in detail. So everyone has to just look at the screen and follow the instruction. Finally, this is how does it look like. Wow, that's pretty cool, right? What do you guys think? Now it's time to get it done the coding. So for that, everyone has to take the adapter and just connect like this. And make sure the board is turned on because that's really important. And now I want you to take the programming cable and just connect it over here, exactly like this. Everyone has to do the same. Now that's perfect. It's time to get it in the coding. I'm gonna share my screen again. Have a look. Well, I hope you can see the screen and over there you can see a code, right? And you will be getting the same code from the supporting material. So I want you to open the supporting material and just copy this code because you will be using this code. This is really important. So everyone has to open your supporting material and just copy this code, exactly the same code. Well, I hope you have copied. Now let's talk about this code. Well, this is the code for checking those readings. Feels like I told you before, right? It's like every sensor has two types of reading. Whenever it dictates something, there would be reading. Whenever it doesn't dictate something, there would be another reading. And these two readings may entirely different. You remember that? Anyway, let's talk about IR sensor. Whenever something in front of it, there would be a reading. Whenever nothing in front of it, there would be another reading. So for checking those readings, we will be using this code. So I want you to paste this code over Arduino IDE software. So I want you to open the Arduino IDE software, the text coding software. You all are familiar with it, right? And just paste the same code over there. So everyone has to do the same. Well, I hope you can see the screen and this is how does the Arduino software would look like. And over here you can see something, right? So just clear this page and just paste the same code over here. Yeah, that's it. Everyone has to do the same. And over here you can see two main things, right? One is void setup and the other one is void loop. Exactly. And these two are main things actually. What about void setup? Over here you can see curly bracket, right? Which means whatever inside will run once. And what about void loop? Yeah, whatever inside will run continuously. So that's the difference between void setup and void loop. And one more thing I wanted to add it for void setup, that is what is, yeah, in a tricky way, just keep in mind, whatever or whichever ports that you are using from the board, you need to mention it inside the void setup. I'm gonna show you that. Well, anyway, this is the code for checking those readings. And wait, here we'll be using two sensors, right? But here we have mentioned only one sensor. Anyway, let's check one sensor first, that is what is 27. Here we have connected one sensor to the 27 port, right? So here we'll be uploading this code. So for that, everyone has to just click on the option called tools. From here, actually, we need to mention the board. That's really important. So ESP32, and which one I just forgot? Actually, this one, right? ESP32 ROM DA module. Just click on it. And what about the next step? And actually, we need to connect the tools again, right? We need to mention the port. So for that, here you can see an option called the port. And from here, we need to connect the serial port, which means we need to connect the robot to the software. For that, we will be using this port option. It may different. I told you it may depends on the systems actually. So you need to click on your serial port. That's really important. Just click on it. That's it. Now it's time to upload. So where is that button? Over here you can see, right? Just click on it and let it upload. Well, it's loading, and once it shows done uploading, that's it. Just click on the serial monitor and let's figure it out the readings. That's it. For me, it shows done uploading. What about you guys? Did you get the same? Okay, now just click on the serial monitor over here. Right side top though, you can see an option called the serial monitor. Everyone has to just click on the option. Whoa, what just happened? What just happened? Did you see that? Something has been pop up, right? And what it says, oh, there you can see some readings, right? What it says, 3000 something. Yeah, just look at the screen, 3000 something. Well, so just keep in mind, this is the reading of IR sensor right now. Yeah, we have done the program for the 27th port, right? Yeah, this is the reading of the 27th port IR sensor. Now I'm gonna share my screen and let's figure it out. Well, I hope you can see the screen, and this is the 27 port IR sensor, right? Exactly, this one is the 27 port IR sensor. And let me ask you something. Is it detecting anything in front of it right now? What do you guys think? Of course, it's detecting the ground, right? Over here you can see the white surface. So right now the sensor is detecting the ground. And what about the value? Yeah, just look at the value again. Yeah, just look at the screen. It says 3000 something, right? So just keep in mind, whenever it detects something, the value is 3000. Just keep in mind, that's really important. Now, same as is, you need to check your own robot. So everyone has to do the same. So in the case of me, whenever the robot detects something, the value is 3000 something. Now I'm gonna show you something else. So just look at the screen again. Well, over here you can see a black line, right? Yeah, it's like a black track. Now I'm gonna show the same sensor to the black line, and let's figure it out the reading again. So I'm gonna placing the sensor over here, yeah, exactly like this. Now just look at the reading again. Wow, just look at the reading. What it says now, it says 200 something. So what just happened? Okay, don't be confused, I'm gonna let you know. So what we have done here, whenever we place this sensor to a black line or black surface, it's not detecting anything, which means we all know the black color will absorb the light, right? So whenever the sensor placed in a black track or black line, the black color will absorb the transmitted light and it will not reflect back. Then it's like there is nothing in front of it. So that's the concept actually. Hope that clear. So that's all about the concept. So just keep in mind, this is really important. Whenever it detected black, the value is 200 something. Whenever it detected white, the value is 3000. So it's entirely different, right? So of course we can figure an in-between value, and we could say like if it goes greater than this, if it goes less than this. I'm gonna show you that. So by using that trick, we'll be doing the coding. Now we need to make sure one more thing. Here we are using two sensors, right? Of course, here we are using two IR sensors. So same as this, we need to get it done the coding for the other sensor. We need to check the readings of the other sensor. So for that, easy, right? What should I do? Of course, just look at the coding. Here we need to change a little bit. Where do I need to change? Any guess from anyone? Anyone? Okay, just look at the screen. I'm gonna show you that. So inside void setup over here, you can see pin mode 27, right? So instead of 27, we need to mention that port. But I just forgot where we have connected that second sensor. Exactly, that's 39, right? So here we need to mention 39. So everyone has to do the same. And what about void loop? Just look at that. Here, do we need to change anything inside? What do you guys think? Of course, here we need to change the name, right? Here we need to change the port. That is what is 39. That's it. Now I want you to upload the same code and just figure it out the readings of second sensor. I mean the 39 port sensor. And just make sure the reading whenever it detects the white surface, I mean the ground, and whenever it detects the black surface. So that's really important. Just note it down somewhere. Well, I hope you have done. Now it's time. It's time to build the real code. So for that, everyone has to just look at the screen, just make a new page. So for that, you know it, right? Just click on the file and just click on the new option. That's it. Just maximize it. And over here you can see two main things, right? One is void setup and the other one is void loop. Feels like you all are familiar with these things, right? Of course, I told you whatever inside the void setup will run once and whatever inside the void loop will run continuously. So that's the difference. And I told you one more thing. Exactly, whatever or whichever ports that you're using from the board, you need to mention it inside void setup. So let's get it done that. Everyone has to type the same. So just look at the screen. Pin mode. And the M has to be capital. That's really important. And the bracket, here we need to mention the port. So he'll be using 27 as input, right? Because it's a sensor port. So 27 as input. That's it. And you can feel it, right? The color has been changed. And the semicolon. Exactly. Now we need to set the another pin, that is what is pin mode I told you M has to be capital. And the other port. So I just forgot, what about the other port? The sensor port, actually, that is what is 39. So here we need to mention 39. Is that input or output? It's input because that's a sensor port, right? It's an analog port. So here we need to mention input. It has to be capital. Now what is next? Any guess from anyone? Of course, we need to mention the motor ports, right? Of course, we need to mention the motor port inside the void setter, because I told you whatever or whichever ports that we're using, we need to mention it inside. But I'm confused. Which are the ports that we're using? What do you guys think? Of course, just look at the robot, right? So here I'm going to share my screen again. Well, I hope you can see the robot, and we will be using these two ports for connecting motors, and each port has names, right? What about this one? Can anyone help me out? It's over there. Can anyone read? 25 and 26. What about this one? Exactly, 19 and 15. So these are the names, and these names are really important because we'll be using these names inside the coding, and that's really important. And you all are familiar with how to rotate a motor, right? Yeah, it's like we need to set one name as high and the other has to low. Then what would happen? Of course, it will start to rotate in one direction, right? And let me ask you something. What if I want to change the direction? Yeah, what should I do? Of course, it's easy, right? We need to change the high into low and the low into high. You all are familiar with it because we did a lot of project by using the same board. So you all are familiar with it. So it's all about that high and low. Now let's back to the screen again. So over here we need to mention 4 ports, right? You will be using 2 motors, which means 4 ports. We will be using 4 ports. So for that, exactly the same. Just copy and paste. It's up to you. And here we need to change the motor ports. One is 25, and instead of input, here we need to mention output because it's a digital port. You all are familiar with it. It has to be capital. Output. That's it. Now 3 more. Either you can just copy paste or you can type. It's up to you. And we need to change the ports. Here we'll be using 25, 26 for one motor. And what about the other one? Exactly, 19 and 15, right? So here we need to mention 19 and 15. That's it. Now we need to mention one more thing, that is what is serial.begin that we used for the serial data communication. So that's really important. Everyone has to type the same. S has to be capital. Serial dot begin. And the bracket, you need to mention 9600. That's the board, right? That we will be learning. So that's all about the void setup. That's enough. Now let's talk about void loop. Inside void loop, you need to mention how the robot has to follow the exact lane. I mean the black lane or the black track. So it's time to let you know the concept. So I'm gonna share my screen. Let's figure it out. Well, I hope you can see the screen. Over there you can see a black lane or black track. Now look what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna place the robot exactly like this. Now just look at the sensors. Well, both the sensors are dictating black lane right now. What do you guys think? Am I right? Exactly. Now both the sensors are dictating black lane, which means both the sensors will be getting the same reading right now. Am I right? Exactly. Now it's time to let you know the trick, which means whenever both sensors are dictating the black lane, the robot has to move forward. So just keep in mind, this is really important. Whenever both the sensors are dictating black lane, the robot has to move forward. And if one of the sensors goes out of the track, okay, let's talk about the left side sensor. Whenever it goes out of the track, whenever the left side sensor goes out of the track, or whenever it dictates white surface, the robot has to back to the track. So for that, the robot has to make a right turn. So for that, you all are familiar, right? Either we can stop this tire and you can rotate this tire. Then what would happen? It will make a right turn. Wow, did you see that? That's how it works. So same as is, whenever the right side sensor, here you can see, whenever the right side sensor goes out of the track or whenever it dictates the wall surface, the robot has to make a left turn. So for that, of course, we can stop this tire and we can rotate this tire. Then what would happen? It will make a left turn. Wow, that's pretty cool, right? So this is all about the concept. And one more thing, whenever both the sensors dictating white surface, it has to be in stop position. So this is all about the concept. I hope it's clear. Well, now let's back to the software and let's get it done decoding. So inside this void loop, look what I'm gonna add. Here you can see some codes, right? So everyone has to type the same code. I'm gonna let you know in detail. It's your time. Everyone has to type the same code inside void loop. Well, I hope you have done. Now look at the code. Here we can see unlog value 1 equal to unlog read 27. So here we have connected one sensor to the 27 port, right? So those readings, we all know whenever we dictate something there will be a reading. So those readings will be stored over here inside this unlog value 1. Just keep in mind the name, that's really important. And look here, you can see another thing, that is what is unlog value 2 equal to unlog read 39. Which means here we have connected the second sensor to the 39 port. So whatever the reading of the second sensor will be stored over here, unlog value 2. So that's really important. So just keep in mind, whatever the reading of the 27 port will be stored over here, unlog value 1, and whatever the reading of the 39 port will be stored over here, the unlog value 2. And this is the code for checking those readings. Yeah, you all are familiar because we just did that. Now it's time to introduce that conditional statement. You all are familiar with it, right? Yeah, if whatever inside the condition, if it satisfies whatever inside that curly bracket would work. So that's all about that if conditions. You all are familiar with it, I guess. Now it's time to introduce that. So look what I'm going to do. If and the bracket, inside the bracket you need to fill exactly the same unlog value 1. So just copy and paste exactly the same. Unlog value 1 means the 27 port, right? Yeah, whatever inside the 27 port reading will be stored over here. I told you that. Now unlog value 1 goes less than 1000. Wait, when it goes less than 1000, any guess from anyone? Yeah, when it goes less than 1000, I mean whenever the 27 port goes less than 1000. Of course, whenever it dictated the black line, right? We all know whenever it dictated the black line, the values were around 300, 400 something. Of course, it's less than 1000. So look at the condition, unlog value 1 goes less than 1000. And here we need to mention the AND symbol. So look what I have done. Everyone has to do the same. Everyone has to add two symbols like this. And you know the concept, right? Whenever both the sensors are dictating black line, it has to move forward. So here we need to mention AND symbol. Now look what I'm going to do. I'm going to add the analog value 2, which means the 39 port, right? And just copy, paste it over here. When both sensors are goes less than 1000, you know it, right? Whenever both sensors are dictating black line, the values were less than 1000. And we know what to do, right? Of course, it has to move forward. So inside this curly bracket, here we need to fill curly bracket like this. So inside the curly bracket, we need to fill the code that could move the robot forward, right? And you all are familiar with those codes. Anyway, look what I'm going to add. Well, inside the curly bracket, you can see some codes, right? So this is the code for moving the robot forward. You all are familiar with it. So everyone has to type the same, exactly the same. And over here you can see unlog write, which means, yeah, here we have used the PWM concept. Of course, we need to control the speed of the motor. We can use PWM concept. So that would be nice. So everyone has to type the same. Well, I hope you have done. Now let's move to the next. For that, everyone has to just copy the same, yeah, like this, and just paste it below. Yeah. And now it's time to set the another condition. That is what is whenever both the sensors are dictating white surface, the robot has to be in stop position. And you know it how to do it, right? So just get it done. Of course, we all know whenever we dictate the white surface, the reading will be greater than 1000, right? So here, all you need to do is just change the symbol whenever it goes greater than 1000, whenever both the sensors goes greater than 1000, what has to happen? Of course, the robot has to be in stop position. So for that, you all are familiar with it. Exactly, here we need to set low, right? It has to be capital, and here we need to set 0, then only it would turn off. And here we need to set 0. Well, that's it. Everyone has to do the same. So this is the code for stopping the robot. You all are familiar with it because we did a lot of projects. I hope you have done. Now let's move to the next. So for that, everyone has to copy the same again and paste it below. Now this time this is really important because we all know if one of the sensors goes out of the track, the robot has to make a turn, right? Either left or right. So for that, let's focus on the 27 port right now. So we all know analog value 1 means the 27 port, right? So whenever the 27 port goes out of the track, wait, out of the track means of course the value is greater than 1000, right? So whenever the analog value 1 goes greater than 1000 and the analog value 2 goes less than 1000, which means the second sensor, that 39 sensor has to be in the black track. I told you one of the sensors goes out of the track. Okay. So look at the condition, what it says. Whenever the 27 port goes out of the track and at the same time, whenever the 39 port has to be in the black lane. So whenever this condition satisfies, whatever inside this curly bracket will work. And you all know what to fill inside, right? Of course, the robot has to make a right turn. So for that, one of the tire has to be stopped and the other has to rotate. So here you need to make sure one important thing, that is what is the motors. You need to make sure the ports that you have connected the motors. So in my case, I have connected the left side motor to the 2526 port and the right side motor I have connected to the 1915 port. So everyone has to make sure the motor ports. That's really important. So just look at the screen again. Whenever the left side sensor goes out of the track, it has to make a right turn. So for that, the 25 and 26 port motor has to rotate. So for that, here we need to set the code for rotating. So here we need to set high and here we need to control the motor. So here I'm going to add 120. That's perfect. That's a perfect speed, I guess. Now, what about the second motor? Of course, it has to be in stop position. Now that's perfect. Now, same as this, we need to get it done the coding for whenever the second sensor goes out of the track. So for that, yeah, just copy the same code again. And in this time, you need to change a little bit. What about that? Exactly, here we need to set the 27 port goes less than 1000 and the 39 port greater than 1000, which means here the 39 port goes out of the track. That what it stands for, right? Just look at the condition exactly. Now in this condition, what has to happen? Of course, our robot has to make a left turn. For that, here we need to set 2526 as low. So just fill low and over here 0 exactly. And what about here? Of course, the 1915 port has to rotate, right? I mean, the motor has to rotate. The right side motor has to rotate. So here we need to set high. And what about here? Of course, here we need to set the number to control the speed. So 120, just add 120. That's perfect. Now I want you to do the same. I hope you have completed. Now that's all about the code. Now it's time to upload. So everyone has to upload the same code to the robot. So make sure your robot is on and make sure you have connected the port and the board. So over here you can see the uploading button. Just click on it. Wait, what it says? Okay, we need to save this code. So for that, here we can fill the robot name. Wait, what is the robot name actually? Exactly, line follower robot, right? Line follower a robot. That's it. Now it started uploading and let's figure it out. So everyone has to do the same. Well, once it shows done uploading, that's it. Well, for me, it shows done uploading and let's figure it out, right? So here I'm gonna share the screen again. Well, I hope you can see the black track and here I'm gonna place the robot over here. And here I'm gonna turn on the robot and let's see what would happen. And here we go. Wow, what is happening? Did you see that? That's just amazing, right? Whenever both the sensors detect the white surface, it stopped. Now I'm gonna show you again this side. Wow, it started moving. Wow, that's pretty cool, right? What do you guys think? Wow, that is amazing. Did you get the same? Well, now it's your time. Everyone has to check the robot whether it is working or not. Wow, and that was just amazing, right? What do you guys think? Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And I told you here the main thing is you can draw your own track. So that would be fun, I guess. Now that's all for today. It's time to wind up. Let's figure it out what are the things that we learned today. Well, we have learned a lot of things, right? What about this one? Over here you can see a sensor, right? It has a name. I just forgot. Can anyone help me out? Exactly. This is what is IR sensor. And what about the full form? Exactly. Infrared sensor. And what about the power? Of course, in a simply way, we could say that it can dictate any infrared object. That's it. Just keep in mind, that's it. And we talked about the board, the ports that we are using for the motors and the sensors as well. And we have done the coding using conditional statement, right? Yeah, it's like whenever one of the sensor goes out of the track, it has to make or it has to back to the track. So we have done coding for that, and that was pretty amazing, I guess. So that's all for today. Thank you. Have a nice day.